Yo guys, welcome to another Rezero video. I really messed that one up. Okay, so before we get into it, let me just say, I will say it every video, I'm keeping this content alive by trying to do at least one video a week on the channel. Now the reason, I should explain the reason I'm doing so is because obviously when it comes, or if it comes to global, I want to be the guy to cover it. I want to be that guy, you know. But currently, as it's only JP and the global player base is kind of small in comparison to just the Japanese player base, right now I'm just trying to keep it very informative but alive and relevant. So when it does drop on global, I'll be able to just jump straight in. But currently, I would only be competing with the Japanese YouTubers, and they're basically just crushing it and getting all of the views at the minute, because I'm not covering it in depth like that, especially when the player base that I would probably be more relevant to doesn't exist yet. So that's essentially what's happening. However, I'm aware that there are global players, which is why I am still doing at least some of the informative content, the news related stuff. The gameplay will come later when global drops. So saying that, let's get into the video. We're doing another PVE tier list, if you hadn't guessed by the thumbnail, title and what you see on the screen. Tier list is not mine. It was decided on by the Lost in Memory Rezero Discord community, which, by the way, the link to that will be in the description. Those guys do an amazing job at making sure that every aspect of the game is translated and understandable to the rest of the community. So big shout out to you guys over there. Thanks very much. Every week, or well, every week, every time there's content, you guys are on it and make sure that it's out, available, and people are aware of it as soon as it happens, or as soon as you can, either way. Anyway, so let's jump in. We're going to go over the changes from the last tier list. Now you should keep in mind, they don't change the tier list every time one unit drops, because chances are in a month you're going to at least get 2 to 3, if not more, well, sorry, 2 to 3, if not 4 units released. And this month, I'm pretty sure, well, since last time, there have been a few new units dropped in that case anyway. So it makes no sense to change the tier lists as soon as one unit drops, because you know there's going to be a few. So this is, in my opinion, the best time to cover them, considering there's probably going to be a little gap between the next bunch of banners. So anyway, enough rambling, let's get into it. The changes from last time. Green Anastasia was jumped from B tier to A tier, mainly because of how important her ability to remove debuffs and remove enemy buffs has become. On her skill 1 right here, you can see she has a 100% chance to remove all debuffs, as well as increase the action gauge of all of her allies at 30% at max level. And then her skill 2 has a 75% chance to remove all enemy buffs. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty pertinent at the moment. But that has caused her to jump up from B tier to A tier. I won't say it's completely broken, as it covers both skills, and her skill 2 is only 75% chance. So if you have a debuff resistance buff on, chances are that it's lower than 75%. So there is that you need to keep in mind as well. It is kind of relevant. The next jump, we're going to jump over to the next unit. Okay, so we're on the green Subaru. Great unit, amazing unit, very steady unit. He's a good free-to-play unit to build up if you're not spending on the game like me. He was dropped down from double S tier to S tier, mainly because his leader skill, he's an all-around good unit. His leader skill is good with allies attack plus 30%. But he's not better than Ram. Valentines Ram just sort of displaced him as how he should be used, given that she heals, taunts, and such. He's still a good free-to-play option. That's the reason he's still in S tier. That's something you need to keep in mind. Although he has dropped down, he's still in S tier and is still very much usable and viable. It's just, it kind of seems like he's been a little bit replaced by the green Valentine's Ram that just came out, who I nearly have her full memory board on, which I'm super hyped about, because I didn't get Rem. As usual, I didn't get Rem. The game just refuses to give me my favorite character. Okay, sorry, ran over. I will point out that his skill 2 is still incredibly useful as well, being able to decrease attack, defense, and agility of the enemies for 2 turns. One enemy for 2 turns is great. So he is a really strong unit. It's just he's kind of been displaced at the very top by Valentine's Ram, and that's completely understandable. Just don't think he's not a great unit, because he is, and he's still in S tier. So let's jump over to the next change. Okay, so we're over here, we're looking at the strong beast warrior Ricardo. The reason he was dropped from S tier all the way down to B tier is because his leader skill, the main reason people utilized him, does not work during event dungeons, sorry, the time limited event dungeons, which means the main reason for having him on your team doesn't work. A big jump as well, S tier to B tier. Obviously this was decided on by the community. I kind of agree. If the reason you're using a unit is because of their leader skill and their leader skill no longer works for you need it to, then obviously the unit's no longer useful. But however, I mean, in the notes here it does say they're not sure whether it is a bug or this is the feature and how it's intended to work, but having a 35% attack buff for your entire team cannot be overlooked, and if it was still useful he would probably still be S tier. That is, I think that's all of it. Those are the relevant or most notable changes that they made according to their notes. So we're going to jump over to the new additions to the tier list and discuss why they are where they are. Okay, so the first unit we need to discuss is the Elsa that has been bumped up to mid S tier. The reason she is here is she is a crit machine. Having such a high crit rate, not an amazingly high attack stat, but still high, means that she's going to do a lot of damage and she's going to do it often. But her whole passive skill on her skill 1 is the reason that she is so strong. If you read right here, when she lands a crit, she has a 100% chance at maximum level to recover 15% of her HP, a 100% chance to remove 1 debuff and reduce skill cooldowns by 2 turns, as well as a 10% chance to attack again. Now, I'm glad that they put in here it does not stack, because then you can't endlessly chain. Like, there's no chance of you having enough luck to sort of get 2 or 3 consecutive attacks that crit, might I add, because there is no damage, you know, reduction on the additional attack. Like, it's doing the same amount of damage as her basic attack, so she's gonna hurt, and I think that's a very valid reason for her being S tier entirely. Like, she does a lot of damage and she's very self sustaining. I don't want to say sustaining, she's not sort of, this passive just basically takes care of herself. She's going to do damage, that's what she's intended to do, and she's going to do a lot of it. It is balanced, however, as she does have a lower defense, so you can kind of take care of her if you focus her down. This is in reference to PvP, obviously, but this is a PvE tier list, so keep it together, LD. Essentially, I cannot disagree with this. S tier seems like where she would be, given that PvE is about how much damage you can do in the shortest amount of time. Yeah, she kind of fits the bill. Moving on to the next unit. Okay, so we're looking at young Wilhelm. Now, young Wilhelm, might I add, has been bumped up to double S, or bumped up, has been thrown into the double S tier. Can't disagree with this one either. Amazing, amazing leader skill, allies attack plus 30%. Nothing but debuffs across the board, as well as an increased debuff chance, which means he's going to get those debuffs more successfully than other units may. Very high, I mean very high attack stat here. You can see right here, 1549 attack at maximum. It is crazy, with the ability to recovery seal and lower defense in 1 skill down here, which means given the current meta of the limited boss events, or the what's it called? What are they called? No. Can't remember what they're called. But the boss events essentially usually have a HP recovery of some sort, as well as defense debuff. So being able to recovery seal as well as decreased defense in 1 ability is incredibly powerful and can't be overlooked. 100%, 110% agree with this decision to put him in double S tier. He's going to be strong even on non-mono teams. So, and he's pretty much viable everywhere. Okay, so we've jumped over now to the the free-to-play Valentine's Petri unit, which has been jumped up to A tier, which is definitely an amazing place to be for a free-to-play unit. The fact that she can inflict charm, which is a multi-purpose CC, I can't quite remember what charm does entirely, but charm is much stronger than the regular freeze and stun mechanics. It does apply an additional CC. Why can't I remember what it adds? Ugh, so frustrating. Anyway, and on top of that, if you look at her skill 2 right here, it increases all allies defense and crit rate for 2 turns and increases action gauge by 50% of all allies as well. An additional 20% to all buffs at maximum. That's a crazy buff to apply for the rest of the team in one skill. So she is a great support unit to bring, and given that this is PvP and PVE, and you kind of want to aim for that one DPS who can just destroy the boss, and free support units that are going to increase that damage output, she is an amazing unit to bring as such. And I'm glad that they take value of how support units work in conjunction with damage, like, because let's be honest, even as a damage dealer without support units, you're not going to be dealing optimal damage. So I'm glad to see Petra up here in the A tier, given that she does provide a lot of support for the rest of the team. Anyway, nothing to laugh at, definitely something to be taken seriously. Let's move on to the next unit. Okay, so we're finally looking at the Valentines Ram. Now, this is the unit that basically did not want to stop coming. I worded that wrong. This is the unit that did not want to stop dropping on the banners that I was summoning for. Like, I essentially maxed out the memory card, and then nearly maxed out her. I think I'm like 50 memory crystals away from getting her memory board completely open. But I'm happy with that. I guess she's an insanely strong unit. She is S tier, and we're going to go over why. So essentially, she has stupidly high HP at 19,375. She has 2 passives on her skill 1, although one of those passives probably won't proc as much in PvE, given that not many enemies in PvE, being like bot enemies, will increase their action gauge. The fact that when she's attacked, she has a 100% chance at max level to increase her HP, recover her HP by 10% of its maximum, as well as buff allies. Yeah, I mean, she's basically, it's a no-brainer. She knocked Subaru off of the double S slot, but I don't think she is completely broken to the point that she would deserve that double S slot. I think both the decision to bring Subaru down from double S and make sure Valentine's Ram is S tier as well was pretty well looked into. I don't think they jumped the gun here. I kind of agree with it wholeheartedly, given that tanks in PvP, not that big of a deal, especially ones that, I mean, she does inflict charm, which is great. To be fair, this is a PvE tier list, and she sort of looks like a unit that would do well in both PvE and PvP, so there's a great balance there. Unfortunately, units like that don't usually excel at any one area, so chances are she's going to be strongly rated in PvP, and just as she's strongly rated in PvE, but nothing exceptional, like nothing out there like, oh my god, it's game breaking. Essentially, with the buffs, the charm, the HP recovery, as well as the ability to taunt and lower action gauge buffs by 50%, is a great reason for her to be S tier. Can't agree with it more. Let's jump on to the next unit. Okay, so this is the unit that you can see perched right up there in the god tier, and for good reason. When she first dropped and I went over her translations, even I, a complete novice at this game, knew that she was broken, even on paper. And it seems the community agrees. Her leader skill, given a 50% debuff chance to Amelia Camp, means that any Amelia Camp ally on her team is going to hit those debuffs regardless. And as they've said in the notes in this Discord community, that there are a lot of high tier Amelia Camp units, meaning that if you were to run an Amelia Camp mono team, it would probably be, even mixed type would be broken as hell and very easy to make. So just there being a large amount of strong Amelia Camp units is reason enough to put her at least in double S tier, where she would belong without the rest of her kit. Now, given that she has lower HP and lower defense, it's kind of made up for by the fact that she can turn invincible for one turn, albeit, but she can still turn invincible with her skill 1, and I kind of think that's stupidly broken in itself, as well as she has an AoE charm. Bro, I can't remember. Why can I not remember what charm does? I know it's a multi-CC ailment, but like, I can't remember what it does. Just know it's good, okay? Charm good. One turn charm, as well as an AoE skill 2 at the same time that inflicts damage over time for 2 turns, as well as charm. So she's got charm on her skill 1 and skill 2 as an AoE. I mean, her skill 1's single target, but you get what I mean. It's single target on her skill. She's just broken. She's broken. Look, if you can't see right here, like above me, she's broken. You're not reading it right. So her skill 1 being a single target has the ability to charm as well as grants 1 turn of invincibility. That itself is busted. It does balance out the fact that she has lower defensive stats, but it is only 1 turn. She's not like godly broken, you can't defeat her type scenario. But in terms of PVE and supporting the team as well as doing damage, yeah, man, I mean, she's got okay damage, like nearly 1300 damage. You cannot scoff at 1300 damage. It's like 9 short of 1300. She's gonna hurt no matter what. 2 turns of damage over time. Like damage over time, I'm pretty sure ignores... Actually, I won't say that because that might be misinformation. I know damage over time does a chunk of damage. Like damage over time is ridiculous. I need to work out how damage over time is calculated, and then I can let you guys know. If anyone does already know how damage over time is calculated, drop it in the comments. I'll pin it just so everyone's aware. I have a feeling, I don't know, my main concern over there is if it ignores defense. If it does, then it's true damage. If it's true damage and it's based on the damage that was dealt with the main attack that caused it, then we're looking at a large chunk of damage from damage over time, like no matter who you are, especially if you've got this high of an attack stat. At the same time, like, yo, there's no way you can't look at her kit and be like, she's not broken. Like, I don't think I have to explain this any more than I already have. She is god tier. Her skill 1, her skill 2 make her broken. Her leader skill makes her and the rest of the immediate, like, she raised an entire like camp of allies just with her leader skill. It's crazy because, well, let's be real, let's look at like Yellow Amelia has a debuff, you know, has freeze, has damage over time. Like, her leader skill works significantly well with the Amelia just being able to stun, sorry, freeze, not stun. And then you've got, like, if you look at the green Ram or green Subaru, both apply debuffs as well. Having a 50% buff to debuff chance is insane. Like, the Amelia camp pretty much has a lot of debuffs to run on. They're not just self-buffing units. Anyway, that's basically it. I mean, there's no way I can explain it any better than I have. She is god tier. Her stats are good. Her skills are good. She makes other units in the same camp good. Like, there's no reason for her not to be god tier. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to drop a like if you did. Subscribe if you are not. Social media links will be in the description. And as always, guys, I love you, and I'll catch you later.